In today's video, we're going to be taking a look here at the upcoming pattern. We do have a potential nor'easter on the way, as well as colder air down the road coming in the form of an Arctic blast into the eastern United States that we need to talk about. We'll also be going over the long-range pattern where colder air is pretty prevalent as well all the way through into December. Now, before we get into things, be sure to check out Prestige Weather in the description and pinned comment down below. That is our weather consulting company, and we do consulting for individuals and businesses alike, so be sure to check it out today. It's only $5 a month. We do early access to a lot of our long-range videos as well as a bonus, so be sure to check it out today. Let's get into things, and as you can see, we need to talk about something pretty immediately here. We do have what is the beginning of a nor'easter taking place here, and this is going to start out in the Gulf of Mexico there. And it's pretty much going to, we'll see it happen, but it's going to work its way up the coast. There's a lot that can happen here. It can be pretty far offshore and cause minimal impacts, or we could see this one trend further and further closer to the coast, and that could cause some more major impacts overall. Let's take this towards this afternoon though and see what kind of impacts we're going to be dealing with today. And you can see up and down the west coast we actually have some storminess, both in the forms of rainfall and snowfall, as a larger storm system is on its way to the coast. We can see this nor'easter's low pressure center is somewhere to the south of Louisiana, Alabama, and Mississippi there, but this is causing impacts for states like Florida, Georgia, Mississippi, Alabama, and Louisiana there. So we are seeing this one starting to impact that Gulf Coast. By the time we reach tomorrow afternoon on Thursday, November 16th here, as you can see, we do have some showery activity throughout the southwest. That's going to be in the form, again, of rainfall and snowfall. We have warmer, I should say. It's not going to be super warm, but we do see warmer air pretty much prevailing here in a lot of the east here on Thursday, November 16th. And here comes that Arctic blast on the way for Friday, November 17th. And what we see happening is a building of some warmer air out west, and we call this a positive PNA, and that stands for Pacific North American Oscillation. And really all that means is warmer air along the west. A negative PNA would be colder air along the west. So it's a very simple teleconnection to understand. And this hump here causes this cold air to funnel down into a lot of the east. And we see this happening time and time again. So we're going to be watching for this. Also, we have a pretty major low up here in Canada, a 979 millibar low pressure center. We could see a cold front developing underneath that as a result. Meanwhile, we have this nor'easter offshore of the southeast. So all of this is going to try to kind of connect. I think that if this cold front moves quicker, or if this nor'easter kind of stalls out, we could see this ride a lot closer to the coast. So what we're going to see here is that it basically doesn't really attach to that cold front. It stays pretty separate, and it is pretty far offshore, but it is a 995 millibar low pressure center, so it is pretty intense, and it could cause some showery activity here along the eastern seaboard, so that is something to watch for. And we have this cold front coming through, which also is going to bring some storminess. So this is pretty separated right now. As you can see, there is a gap in between these two areas of disturbance, and if these do come together more than this, then we're going to start to see the impacts actually pile on, and we will see a lot more from this system. That's by very early on Saturday morning, pretty much overnight. We can see that this low does eventually impact New England as a 984. As it's offshore of Cape Cod, we do see a little bit more major impacts here for New England, pretty typical of a nor'easter. And by the time we're reaching later that evening, we can see it's down to a 979 millibar low pressure center. And after that cold front has moved through, we do actually see some snowfall on the back end of this for states like New York, Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, and even down south into Connecticut, even along those Berkshires. So this is certainly something that could cause some wintry activity. And if not, if anything, wind and rainfall, heavy rainfall as a result of this as it approaches the coast of Maine. Let's take this towards Sunday afternoon, and we can see a lot of this cold is bottled up here for the northeast. So that is where the heart of that cold is located. The south kind of holds on to a little bit more of that warmth. We do see snowfall happening throughout the Rockies, both on the Canadian side of things and on the United States side of things. That's certainly worth mentioning by Sunday, November 19th. We do have a 979 millibar low pressure center there over Texas and Oklahoma, causing some thunderstorms to fire up to the east of it. So this is certainly another impact to watch for there on Sunday, November 19th. Let's take this towards Monday, the 20th here of November, and we can see that this 997 millibar low pressure center here is now causing a lot of impacts for many different states. This is a pretty far stretching impact area from this storm. We do see cold air diving southward behind all of this, and this is causing snowfall on the very western fronts of the plains. We do see warmer air prevailing here along the western coast, and again, that is going to be more like a positive P&A. If this can all spread eastward, then we're going to see that cold air eventually move into the east. So let's see what ends up happening by Tuesday afternoon. What we see is that this warmth is building out west. This positive P&A is reinforcing itself. We do see a 995 millibar low pressure center developing out ahead of all of this. We see a lot of storminess surging from the Gulf. This is a lot of moisture to work with that Gulf of Mexico just to the south. And we do see a lot of cold air funneling southward for the central states. And again, likely this is going to begin to kind of move eastward by Wednesday, the 22nd. We do see everything kind of lift off. So we can see this really intense train of moisture moving up the east coast there. And that is all shoving its way northward, causing heavy snowfall for Canada and pretty heavy rainfall there in the northeast of the United States. As you can see, by Thursday, we see all of this cold really settling in. Again, a lot warmer out west here, which is going to supply that cold air into the east. And it is pretty exclusive here for the north. We see a lot less of it for the south. A lot of times you'll see these dive southward. Not really this one. We see it stay in the plains, stay in the Great Lakes, stay in the northeast. This one is going to be pretty far north based for a cool down, but it will impact areas in the United States is the current expectation. Now, the total precipitation through the next 10 days, as you can see, things are quieting down out west. As you can see, we have nearly average precipitation out west. Nothing crazy like we had been seeing beforehand. And then in the east, we see an uptick in activity here. This is where we're expecting above average activity. For one thing, we get that nor'easter, and then we get that cutter later on that moves through like this. So we get this kind of rising storm motion in the east. They both tap into the Gulf moisture down here, and that plays a massive role in why we expect so much precipitation in the east over the next 10 days. Now, total snowfall here, again, a little bit diminished as well with that lack of western precipitation. It's not really a lack, it's more like not above average. And what we end up seeing is quite a bit of snowfall in the Rockies, but nothing crazy like we had been seeing. There is some snowfall expected for the upper Midwest, Great Lakes, and Northeast as that cold air moves in. We have some storm systems moving through as well again, so certainly things to watch for. But anywhere in the grays is a dusting. If anything, blues are 2 to 6 inches of snowfall, purples are 6 to 10, pinks are 10 to 20, and then your pastel blues are going to be 20 inches plus. Keep that in mind. Let's take a look at the temperature pattern through the next 10 days. We do actually have a warm up on the way for the east. It's going to be very brief as we do get that mini Arctic blast or, big cool down here, cold front that takes place here around the weekend. So Saturday into Sunday time frame. We do have warmer air out west, which is pretty much supporting this as well. Let's keep going though, because we do see another warm up take place from that southeast corridor around the 20th, 21st, 22nd time frame. But then we see another massive cool down move in. Again, mostly impacting the plains, Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, and Northeast here. There is some cooler or more neutral temperatures in the south, but this is pretty exclusive for areas further north. And that's going to be after Thanksgiving as we're approaching next weekend towards the 25th. Now, the long range pattern, as I mentioned, kind of supports more cold, especially after the 20th time frame. So we get that big cool down that we saw. We get a little bit of a brief pause in the colder air where it's not quite as cold, but then we get this reinforced cold air around the 5th of December through the 10th. And look at this, we just continue to see cold all the way past Christmas and all the way as we're approaching the new year along the eastern seaboard. So we're going to be watching for cold, and we're going to be watching for snow in the east overall. We'll also be watching for snow in the mountainous west, but also warmer temperatures at the same time. They don't need the cold quite like the east does to see snowfall, because if your average temperature is 10 degrees and you see 10 degrees above average, it's still 20, so you're still going to see snow if precipitation moves through. But in the east, if your average temperature is 40, you need 10 degrees below normal to get down to 30. I hope that makes sense. Obviously, there's big differences depending on what climate you're in, what region you're in, and that's kind of just a sliver of what that entails for when you're taking a look at the weather for the entire United States. It gets a little bit crazy, I guess, is the whole point. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to subscribe as we do upload every single day. You can even hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload so you never miss one. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it, leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.